I'm Jess Jackson for iHeartRadio. It is Women's History Month and International Women's Day on March 8th. And a huge thank you to Lzzy Hale of Halestorm for joining me today. Thank you so much for taking the time, Lzzy.
Oh, dude, thanks for taking the time to be with me. It's so good to see your face again, actually. It's been a while.
So get right into this. You're definitely a huge inspiration for, of course, women in music, but women in general. So what message would you like to push this year? I was reading through your post that you shared last year about all the things that we need to stop doing as women. So are you kind of going with that message again or something a little different this year?
Amongst all the craziness, I guess I've been focusing more on, instead of the broad strokes of we have to support each other and, stop the hate for hate's sake and all of that, is really just a message of self-love, because after everything that we've all been going through for the past couple of years, it's almost like, yes, some of the world is out to get us, but really it's more of that internal struggle now. It's like you have to, self-love is the most important love that you can give, and you have to own your weird and stop trying to compare yourself to other people. Don't compare yourself to other women. It's very easy to do that on the socials, and since that kind of became our whole social life over the past couple of years, I've seen a lot of girls struggle with their own self-image, and really it doesn't matter what anybody thinks of you. I always think about this with myself too, because having the job that I do, there are people that think I'm the best thing since sliced bread, and that's all right. There are people that hate my guts too, and that's okay too, because all that really matters is what I think of me, because when I walk out there and I do my thing, it doesn't matter whether somebody enjoys it or not, I'm enjoying it. So yeah, that's just been kind of what I've been spreading around this year. new themes.
I've said this a couple weeks ago when someone kind of asked me how you deal with people that get mad at you for something. I said, you know what? Well, if people didn't hate me, then I'm probably doing something boring.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny because we always used to say that as a band too. It's like, you don't really make it until you have like some haters that like do not like what you do. So I remember like the first time that kind of started happening, and it's like, wow, there are people that don't like our band, and that's because we're doing something right.
Yeah. So. Are there still times that you find you still need to remind yourself about things like this? Like maybe when you do get down on yourself or as a band, that you still think, you know what, like, I don't need this. And you kind of have to bring yourself back up, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. It happens to me all the time. I've gone through a complete roller coaster ride of anxiety and depression, and trying to like almost rediscover yourself, and not to keep harping on the past couple of years, but man, when my happy place, which is touring and being on stage in front of people and having that communion, when that was stolen from me, I had to kind of look at myself in a different way in the mirror, like, who am I without all of that? It's like you just kind of, you take it for granted because you think it's just going to be something that's always going to be there. So I guess the silver lining in all of that is that I rediscovered myself, but I also rediscovered why I actually love music. It's not because it's a career choice. It's not because I've been doing it since I was 13. There's like just kind of a need to do it. And so we ended up writing this album kind of based on that, hey, like if we're never going to be out in front of people ever again, if for some reason this is our new world, we got to put everything on this new album. So again, silver linings. But yeah, I have to remind myself of that a lot, actually. And it's fun to talk to fans about that too, because I think that there's this misconception, I'm sure in your profession as well, that like, oh, your job's so great, when would you ever be sad? It's like, all the time, actually. Yeah. So, I'm still, just a dork from Pennsylvania that just so happens to have been lucky enough to be doing what I love as a career. So yeah, we're all the same.
Yeah. So Women's History Month this year, the theme is women providing healing and promoting hope. Does this, mean something specific to you? Perhaps maybe a certain woman in your life that's provided healing for you, promoted hope with you, or maybe who you aspire to be like when it comes to that?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I just met one of my idols for the first time, Ann Wilson from Heart. This happened, 2 weeks ago, I think. And so she was recording a new album, and I went to her studio and we did this joint interview together. And I was so happy to finally be able to thank her for not giving up, because look, we all have our roller coaster ride of struggles that we go through just being born a woman. But I didn't have it nearly as bad as she did, because with every generation, you get to pass the torch to the next and have it be hopefully just a little less difficult because of what you fought to do. And so I got to thank her for not giving up, because if that had been her narrative, then that probably would have been my narrative too. It's like, well, it got too hard and she got sick of the music business and the struggles that go along with being a girl in the music business. So then I would be like, well, wow, that actually seems impossible. Maybe I won't go for that, but I remember the first time I ever heard her really sing was in the 90s. And my mom bought me this live CD called The Road Home by Heart. And there's this whole version of Crazy on You that's like semi a cappella, and she just wails so hard live. And I'm like, wow, girls can sing like that. And I know it sounds silly, but I was just like, I'm a girl and she can do it. So I think I can do it too. It just made that bridge just a little shorter between like me and the dream. So that was exciting. And it was neat to just talk to her like a normal person and like really be just like, hey, I want you to know how monumental that CD was. The funniest thing was that she responded, she's like, that live CD? Like, we don't even think of that live CD, but it just happened and we put it out. It's like, you never know, where those keystones, in your life are going to land. So that was a lot of fun.
Really cool. Well, like she is for you, and I know you are for women really of every age, a huge inspiration. So do you have any advice for maybe women who have, been around a little bit longer that we can model ourselves as mentors for the younger girls growing up? Like, how can we kind of, show them like, hey, you can do this. Like, don't be discouraged just because you're not one of the boys.
Absolutely. I've seen so many women kind of step out into the light. Whereas I think in past years, like everyone just kind of keeps their heads down, it's like, I'm just going to do my job and I got to do this. And like, I think that a lot of women are just being brave enough, but also I think we're done dealing with everybody's crap. So it's like, screw it, I'm going to promote this. I'm going to promote that I am a woman. I am a woman doing what I love. And it's not just in the music industry. Obviously there is a lot of people behind the scenes in the music industry as well, not just women on stage, but, female producers and sound engineers and lighting technicians and tour managers and all of that. I've seen a lot of that, but also just in the world, female judges, lawyers, people, and it doesn't even have to be that kind of job, like girls that run their own business. I think that it's important to promote that, hey, I'm a woman and I did this and I'm proud to be a woman and out here owning my shit. It's like, we're taking a little bit of that power back without, like I said, just keeping the blinders on and moving forward. We're really showing these girls that they can do it. And it's important for women to see themselves in somebody else that have been around for a while. I know for me, there's a lot of classic rock that I grew up with, and I've gotten to meet almost all of them. Pat Benatar and now Heart, and, Joan Jett and all of that, Lita Ford. And it's just wonderful to be able to look toward them too, because that is also hopefully my future. Like, I want to be doing this when I'm in my 70s, you're going to have to like pry me off that stage. Like, Lzzy, it's not cute anymore, but so I'm so thankful. And so for me, I kind of have been making it my mission statement to absolutely take young unknown women out on tour with us. We've been doing that a lot for the past couple of years. And also just in general, trying to give some advice online, or just general encouragement. Be like, look, believe me, it's going to be hard. My parents said this to me. They're like, this is probably the last thing that we want for our little girl. There's going to be disappointment. No guarantee that you're going to make it, but you have to go after what you love, regardless of maybe the steps back or the failure. I'd rather fail at doing what I love and being my true self than just playing it safe, doing anything else.
Yeah. So like you mentioned too, since you were 13 years old, I think this is such a cliche question, but I did want to ask, kind of with this general theme, if you could go back to when you were just starting out and had this dream of music, what would you tell yourself?
Wow. I don't know if I would tell myself anything different because I was really naive. And I think that that kind of worked in my favor because I didn't even hardly notice there was a lot of, I look back now and I see where the sexism was coming into play. And I remember because I had this music, I didn't really care whether anybody liked me or not. I remember, millions of times just, playing in bars when I'm like 15, 16 years old, and the ones that would let us in to play. And you're carrying in your equipment, either my keyboards or my guitar, and there'd always be some dude band that would be just like, oh, that's adorable. My girlfriend never carries in my equipment, like just not assuming that I'm in the band at all, or you walk in, like, hey, set up the merch table over there, because assuming that because I'm the girl, I just sling cotton, like I am Halestorm. No, but I started using that as my superpower, because I felt like if no one is going to realize, or even guess that I'm in the band, I might as well, throw them in for a shock. So what I would end up doing is starting the set a cappella, but in the back of the bar, like with a hoodie, or sitting at the bar, like with my microphone, and everyone's like facing the stage, and what is that? And then go up, and the big reveal is like, hey, I'm a girl too. You have to turn all of that stuff around. And I had a really healthy relationship with that when I was growing up. Thankfully, I had some parents that were really supportive and that were always kind of there to like protect me from that early on. And because I think back now, and I remember like there were some guys that were like either giving us a chance, but we weren't like great back then. They were giving us a chance, but there's some people that were genuinely nice, and then there are some people I look back and like, oh, I just thought he thought I was cool. No, it's because I was girl. It's like he wanted to date me. I get it. But those little things too that pop up. So I don't know if I would tell myself anything really different, because I think that naivete and even the mistakes that I've made have all brought me here. So, I mean, I probably would just be like, you're not crazy. and you just got to keep doing it. And I did. We thought about that a lot. My little brother and I was lucky to have my little brother in the band too. Because he's half alien and half like wise old owl sometimes. I remember, we had just lost like half our band members when we were teenagers, and like I remember turning to little bro, I'm like, are we nuts for doing this? Because like nobody wants to practice, nobody wants to do it as hard as we do. And little bro's like, yeah, we're probably nuts, but what else are we gonna do? I'm like, you're right, let's keep going. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I did want to mention that you guys have the new album Back from the Dead out May 6th, the new single out, The Steeple, and was reading that this whole album was kind of inspired by a dark place, because I think for a lot of people with COVID and the lockdowns and everything, it was pretty easy to fall into a dark place. So you just want to talk about that and how that kind of came out in this new album?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Everybody kind of went through it. I think I ended up writing this album a little selfishly this time, because I needed to remind myself of why I do this and why I'm here. And I, like I said before, I kind of rediscovered that music to me has always been that healing spot for me personally. I mean, just the fact that I'm able to call it a career is a perk, but I would still be doing it I probably would be living in my parents' basement at this point. I'd be doing it in my parents' basement, regardless. But so what I was doing was writing from a very personal place. And what I realized is that if I write about my true feelings and my true self and kind of give myself those little reminders, that there are millions of other people that are going through the exact same thing that you're going through. So it's kind of a beautiful thing. I got to realize that, oh, I'm not alone in this either. It gets really hard to do that sometimes, because when you're in it and you're kind of spiraling out, you think you're the only person in the world that could possibly feel that way, but it's not true. So, I ended up writing this record, you have to write through it, and got to the end of it and you're like, all right, Mom still got this. It's all good. And so that's why I'm so proud of this record. I think that our fans are really going to see themselves in this album, and take these songs as their own personal anthem because of that.
Well, thank you so much for this, Lzzy. Thank you for doing what you do and just being a badass woman out there, and for sending this wonderful message to all women all across the world. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, thanks for taking the time for me, darling. And it's a pleasure. It always is. So.